What's the average age of retirement here in the U.S. for 2022? This has been updated. Is the age, are people retiring sooner or are they retiring later? I've got the data and implications, that and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, so the American dream, and the way I see it, is that each generation has it a little bit better than the previous generation. And the tricky thing is with money and with finances, while the standard of living is certainly better, with retirement, it doesn't really pan out that way. And while I would still argue it is getting better, it doesn't necessarily mean that each generation is going to work less or retire sooner. And that's been the case from the data that we can see. There's typically every couple of years or so, there's some surveys that are sent out to check, okay, when are people actually retiring? When do they want to retire? When are they actually retiring? And the data is pretty clear that people actually retire a little bit sooner than what they plan because of changes with work or timing or health issues, whatever. And so you've got to be careful with that with your planning. But also just on average, when are people retiring? And new data came out for 2022 that shows that there was a change, a pretty meaningful change when you compare it to a couple decades ago. In the mid-'80s, the average retirement age was around age 62. And by the time we got to 2016, that retirement age had increased significantly. Near 65 was the average retirement age. Now, it's really been volatile over the past couple of years because of COVID, okay? Lots of people retired early because of COVID. Think about it. If you were right on the doorstep and all of a sudden you were forced to work from home or you were laid off or every facet of your job changed, it went more virtual, you had to wear masks, you had to, change how you were serving, it got much more complicated. Just a huge waterfall of people retired in 2020. Now, many of those people are returning back to work. There's a sort of significant number. But when you even all of that out, currently, the average retirement age for Americans in 2022 right now is age 64. Now, I don't know if that surprises you or if that's maybe in line when you'd like to be done. But what I guess it really is in contrast to, yes, people were retiring much sooner than that, even just 2 years ago, 62, that sort of thing during COVID, right? But comparing that to a few decades ago, where people are retiring later. Now, why is that? Number one is your retirement is lasting longer. And so your life expectancy is longer today than it was in the mid-'80s. Therefore, because you're going to live longer, your retirement's going to last longer, and you need to have more saved up. It's going to be more expensive. And I think people are realizing that from the planning work that they're doing, and just that overall awareness that, way back when they introduced Social Security, you could draw it at 65 and you were going to pass away by the time you were 70, right? And now you can draw early at 62, and they've pushed your full retirement age out, but you're going to live into your late 80s on average. And so people are living longer, so your retirement's going to last longer, and it's going to cost more. You need to have more saved up, and therefore I think that's driving people to work a little bit longer. Along with that, though, I don't know if that's the driving factor. It's sort of all of these are sort of combined, in my opinion, but there's less pensions. There's less pensions, specifically those folks that are choosing to retire right now. They probably entered the workforce when pensions were prevalent, then that majority or maybe 2/3 of jobs had pensions. And right now it's less than a fifth of jobs out there have pensions, okay? And I know government is so big and that distorts things a little bit, but fewer and fewer, especially private sector jobs, have pensions. And if you started your career at a time when, it could be helpful to save up, but it's not really that popular, and the company's saving up for you, you've got this pension, and midstream that changes, that means you might need to work a little bit longer because more of that saving up responsibility is on your shoulders. And because we know of the retirement readiness gap and how people during those that shift, they weren't able to start saving up as much as they needed to. I think more people are going to rely heavily on Social Security, and working a little bit longer allows your Social Security to continue to grow. So I think that is certainly a factor. Fewer pensions, meaning more of the responsibilities on your shoulders to save up, and people just haven't saved up as much as they've needed to. And then sort of the third main factor, the way I see it, and that people are working longer or retiring later, is retiree medical. And this kind of goes hand in hand with pensions. Again, way back when, and a few decades ago, it wasn't the majority, but it was still common enough that as part of your retirement package for your years of diligent service, you maybe had some retiree medical, some ability to stay on the health insurance plan through your employer up until Medicare or through retirement. And that gave you an option for health insurance that was affordable. And I'm using my words carefully here. And so therefore, retiring at 62 was a possibility when you had that, or you or your spouse had that option. Right now, retiree medical has all but gone away. It's extremely rare, and it's replaced with the Affordable Care Act, which is an enormous safety net that anyone can get health insurance, no pre-existing conditions you need to worry about. However, in order for it to really be affordable, because prices are rising so rapidly, in order for it to be affordable, your income needs to be below a certain level. If it's below a certain level, then you get some tax credits that keeps this health insurance premium low, but a lot of times people are transitioning into retirement and their income might be a little bit higher than that threshold, and therefore health insurance is pretty expensive. And because Medicare doesn't start until age 65, and there's really no wiggle room on that unless you are disabled or have end-stage renal disease, Medicare starts at 65. And so working a little bit longer so that you can get a little bit closer to getting on Medicare, I think that's another one of the reasons why people are working longer. Yeah, the average retirement age is 64, not 65. Well, most employer-sponsored health insurance plans also have COBRA as well. And so you could afford to pay for COBRA for 12 months or figure out that health insurance gap for a year before getting on Medicare. One honorable mention comment I'd throw out there is I think one of the reasons why more people retired earlier just 2 years ago during COVID was, yes, everything changed, and so your job was more difficult and it was more complicated, and you were dealing with people that were stressed to the max, and all that influences your job and your satisfaction, enjoyment, all that sort of stuff. But your investments had dropped like a rock, but then they were skyrocketing. There was a lot of optimism and momentum on Wall Street, and that's changed completely, very significantly over the past 12 months. And I think that's led to more people saying, yeah, I'm going to work an extra year. I'm going to work an extra 2 years to give my investments a little bit more time, give me more time to save into my investments, and give them some time to rebound. So that's the average retirement age in the U.S., 64. I actually am not surprised by that number at all. I'm surprised that it was 62 way back when, but again, because of those demographic and those changes, I think that makes sense. Do you want to retire at 62? Do you want to retire sooner than 64, or is 64 or around then still your goal, but you want to make sure you do so with confidence? The way to do that is a 5-factor retirement plan. I talk about that all the time, but it's much more than just sort of, well, how much do I need to have saved up? It takes into account all of those demographic changes that I mentioned, because it looks at, all right, well, how long is retirement going to be? That's the first variable. When you want to retire, and what's your life expectancy? So how long are we planning for here? And then it does take into account the medical insurance, all that sort of stuff, by what are your expenses, okay? And then what's inflation with that and all that? What are your income sources? So if you no longer have a pension, how do you optimize Social Security? That's in there. And then how much do you need to save up, and how much risk are you comfortable taking in your investments? That's all connected to help you determine whether you're on track to retire at, whether it's 62 or 63, 64, 65, whether you should go at 67, your full retirement age, that sort of thing. Work with your certified financial planner on that, and regardless of the age, you want to make that bold decision with confidence, with clarity and confidence that you can do so and you're on track, and that your retirement can be this restful, enjoyable time, not a time of great financial strife and worry. Okay, so work with your certified financial planner, build that 5-factor track to retirement plan, get on track for your retirement. If you don't have a CFP on your team that can help you with that, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with a K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.